What if the thing you do every day to be more productive is actually destroying your mental health? Multitasking feels like the ultimate life hack, juggling emails, calls, and messages all at once. But beneath the surface, it's silently wrecking your focus, increasing your stress, and even reshaping your brain in harmful ways. The worst part? Most people have no idea it's happening. Curious to know how multitasking is sabotaging your mind and what you can do to stop it before it's too late? Let's start with the myth that multitasking makes you more productive. It feels efficient, right? Answering emails during a Zoom call, texting a friend while working on a project, flipping between tabs. It gives you the illusion that you're doing more in less time. But in reality, multitasking isn't productivity, it's task switching, and your brain isn't wired for it. Every time you switch tasks, your brain needs time to adjust. This is called the switching cost, and it drains mental energy. Research from Stanford University shows that frequent multitaskers struggle more with filtering irrelevant information, leading to slower task completion and more mistakes. In fact, shifting between tasks can reduce productivity by up to 40%. That means the more you multitask, the more time you actually waste. But the damage doesn't stop at lost time. Frequent task switching overloads your brain's prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for decision-making, focus, and impulse control. Over time, this overload leads to mental fatigue, making it harder to concentrate even when you finally decide to focus on a single task. The constant mental juggling tires your brain out faster, leaving you mentally drained even after what seems like a normal workday. And there's a deeper cost: the quality of your work. Multitasking often leads to more mistakes, overlooked details, and shallow thinking. You're not engaging deeply with anything, which prevents you from doing your best work. The result? You feel busy but unaccomplished, leading to frustration and increased stress. Worse yet, this feeling can carry over into your personal life, making it harder to unwind, enjoy hobbies, or be present in conversations. Think about it. Have you ever spent hours bouncing between emails, social media, and work, only to end the day feeling like you got nothing meaningful done? That's the illusion of productivity in action. It tricks your brain into thinking you're being efficient when, in reality, you're stretching yourself too thin. The more you do it, the harder it becomes to break free, as your brain starts craving constant stimulation, making deep focus feel almost impossible. Now let's talk about what multitasking is doing to your mental health. Constantly switching between tasks keeps your brain in a heightened state of alertness. This triggers the release of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, keeping your body in a low-grade fight-or-flight mode all day. Over time, this chronic stress takes a serious toll. High cortisol levels have been linked to anxiety, depression, and mood swings. You might notice feeling more on edge, easily overwhelmed, or emotionally drained after a long day of multitasking. And the worst part? It becomes a cycle. The more stressed you feel, the more likely you are to multitask, trying to catch up, which only makes things worse. It creates a feedback loop that reinforces stress and anxiety, making it harder to break free from the cycle. Multitasking also affects your emotional regulation. When your brain is constantly overstimulated, it becomes harder to manage emotions effectively. Small frustrations can feel like major setbacks. You may find yourself snapping at others or feeling more reactive than usual, all because your mind is stretched too thin. This heightened emotional reactivity can strain relationships, both at work and in your personal life, leading to feelings of isolation or guilt. Another concerning effect is the impact on self-esteem. When multitasking leads to lower quality work and more mistakes, it can erode your confidence. You might start doubting your abilities or feeling like you're never good enough, even though the real issue isn't you, it's the way you're working. Over time, this constant self-criticism can contribute to feelings of inadequacy and even imposter syndrome. There's also the issue of decision fatigue. Every time you switch tasks, your brain has to make micro decisions about where to focus next. Over the course of the day, this adds up, leaving you mentally exhausted. That's why simple choices, like what to eat for dinner, can feel overwhelming after a long day of multitasking. You may also find yourself procrastinating more, not because you're lazy, but because your brain is simply too tired to make another decision. Long-term, this constant mental strain can lead to burnout. Symptoms of burnout include chronic fatigue, detachment, irritability, and a sense of helplessness. If you've ever felt completely drained, like you can't keep up no matter how hard you try, multitasking might be a major factor. Left unchecked, burnout can have serious consequences on your health, happiness, and overall quality of life, making it crucial to recognize and address these patterns early on. The most alarming part? Multitasking doesn't just affect your mood, it can physically change your brain. Studies using MRI scans have shown that chronic multitaskers have less gray matter in the anterior cingulate cortex, the part of the brain responsible for empathy, decision-making, and emotional control. This means that the more you multitask, the harder it becomes to focus, make thoughtful decisions, and connect with others emotionally. It's a vicious cycle. Multitasking makes it harder to concentrate, which leads to more task switching, which further weakens your brain's ability to focus. It also affects your memory. Ever walked into a room and forgotten why you were there? Or read an entire page without absorbing any of it? That's a side effect of multitasking. Your brain struggles to encode information deeply when it's constantly distracted, leading to poor short-term and long-term memory retention. And let's not forget about creativity. Multitasking stifles your brain's ability to make connections between ideas, something that's essential for creative thinking. When you're constantly flipping between tasks, you're not giving your brain the space it needs to wander, reflect, and innovate. A study from the University of London found that people who multitasked during cognitive tasks experienced IQ score drops similar to those seen in individuals who stayed up all night. That's right, multitasking can make you perform at the same level as if you hadn't slept for 24 hours. What's even more concerning is that many of these changes in the brain can become long-lasting. The more you practice multitasking, the more ingrained these patterns become, making it harder to break free from the habit over time. Now that you know how damaging multitasking can be, let's talk about how to break free from it. The good news? Small changes can make a big difference. The first step is awareness. Start noticing when you're multitasking. Are you checking your phone during meetings? Responding to texts while watching TV? Once you're aware, you can begin to shift your habits. Next, try single tasking. It might feel strange at first, but focusing on one task at a time is the most effective way to boost productivity and protect your mental health. Use techniques like the Pomodoro method, 25 minutes of focused work followed by a 5-minute break to help train your brain to concentrate. Another strategy? Create distraction-free zones. Turn off unnecessary notifications, close extra tabs, and put your phone on airplane mode when working on something important. The fewer distractions you have, the easier it will be to focus. Mindfulness practices can also help. Simple activities like meditation or deep breathing exercises train your brain to stay present, improving your focus and emotional regulation over time. Even taking a few minutes each day to disconnect and be still can reduce stress and improve mental clarity. Another helpful tip is to batch similar tasks together. For example, set aside specific times during the day to check emails or return phone calls instead of doing them sporadically. This reduces task switching and helps you stay in a focused flow. It's also important to give yourself permission to slow down. In a culture that glorifies busyness, it can feel counterintuitive to do less. But by focusing on quality over quantity, you'll not only get more done, you'll feel better doing it. Finally, prioritize downtime. Your brain needs periods of rest to process information, recharge, and maintain emotional balance. Make time for activities that relax you, whether that's reading, going for a walk, or spending time with loved ones, without the constant pull of multitasking. Multitasking may seem like a shortcut to getting more done, but in reality, it's quietly draining your energy, damaging your focus, and harming your mental health. By breaking the habit and embracing single tasking, you can protect your mind, reduce stress, and ultimately be more productive in less time. So the next time you feel tempted to juggle a dozen things at once, pause and ask yourself, is this really worth the cost to my well-being? Because sometimes doing less is the most powerful thing you can do.